It's no surprise Final Fantasy VII Remake looks and plays beautifully on the PlayStation 5. What is a shocker is how poor the performance is on the PC port. If a game looks gorgeous on a $500 console, it should look and play beautifully on a $3,000 flagship PC as well. Especially if you're going to charge $70 US, even if they've already purchased it for the console. Let's get it. So I'm going to start this video out by saying that 2021 has been a year for AAA disappointment. Battlefield 2021, the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, Call of Duty Vanguard, and a bunch of others that I can't think of right now. The only huge first-party game that has dropped this year that wasn't a savage disappointment, and this is subjective and obviously could be disputed, would be Halo Infinite. But now we have a port of a Square Enix game that should look and play amazing on PC, considering with PC you can taper back performance depending on if you have a budget rig or not, or if you have a flagship $4,000 beast with an overclocked i9 and a 3090 and 64 gigs of RAM, and basically you're just showing people how large your schmeckle is, then you can bump up performance. Now, the PlayStation 5, which I have beaten FF7 on, has a dynamic 1440-60 mode that looks really good, and then it also has a 4K 30 mode that looks stunning. But recently it's been ported over to PC, and unfortunately the performance is simply unacceptable. I have two articles pulled up right here. They will be cited or sourced down there in the description below, as I do anytime I cover any news in the gaming community or industry. So Digital Foundry, in case you don't know, is a company or organization that does some very in-depth technical benchmark testing of games. If you want to know where frame rate dips are and you want to know how a game performs on a certain console or PC, Digital Foundry is the place to go. If you want sexual innuendos and some nipple twisting covert zingers, Gamer Heaven's the place for you. Also a gaming news outlet that actually vets their sources for validity. We do that too here. But even before it was discovered how piss poor the performance is on PC, that's a good test for plosives on a microphone. Piss poor performance on PC. God, I don't have a pop filter on right now, so I apologize, headphone users. But before we knew how disappointing the performance is on this PC port, $70 for a game that has been cheaper on the PSN. In fact, it was actually a free title if you have the subscription on Sony's side of the house. Not to mention, there's been a ton of deals and sales, but now they want $70 for this brand new PC port, which in my opinion was already savagely overpriced. I think even $60 US is overpriced for this title. It would be somewhat justified or well worth it if the performance was stellar, which it should be for a PC port, but it's not for a multitude of reasons. The main one being stutters. In one simple word, stutters. In several of the cinematic cutscenes, it looks like you're under a strobe light at a disco. Not to mention, there are some very wonky textures that are very reminiscent of something like an Xbox One or PlayStation 4. Certainly not a late 2021 PC. But on the bright side, the game isn't crashing or showing any game-busting bugs, so that's good when you look at things like CD Projekt Red's baby, Cyberpunk 2077, which is getting better, but too little, too late, and too slow, I would say, with these patches and updates. And also, there is a good lack of adjustment or tweaks for the PC side of the house. There's no variable frame rate option, no way to tweak anti-aliasing, no way to toggle VSync, FreeSync, G-Sync, basically any of the monitor technologies that sync up with the refresh of your monitor, or control effects like motion blur. That's one of the perks of PC gaming over console, which, by the way, I'm not a PC purist or anything. I do game on several platforms, but that is one of the perks of being on PC, is the fact that you can fine-tune and tweak every little graphical setting to where you get that perfect balance of a fluid frame rate versus the most beautiful graphic fidelity that you can squeeze out of your rig. The port also doesn't let you control resolution scaling, which is now a common option for balancing image quality and performance. Well, why the hell not? I did mention earlier that it was dynamic resolution on the consoles, and it uses scaling to maintain a smooth frame rate, meaning that your resolution might drop from its target of 1440 to something around 1080p to maintain that 60 frames per second. The PC port does this as well based on the frame rate target that you set in the menu, but it gives you no option to disable it. So if you have a super high-end PC, like I mentioned 3090 and an i9 or something like that, where you don't need to be dynamically dropping resolution to target a frame rate, you can't turn that off. So it's constantly dynamically changing in the background. And I do concur with the statement of the journalist over here at PC Gamer, which says this performance would be disappointing in any game, but Square Enix has absolutely zero excuse here, as this game is selling for a premium of $70 on PC, and that price is even steeper in other regions, such as this little squiggly Egyptian hieroglyphic here, which equates or converts to $90 US. Excuse-moi and unbuckle my bra, not today, ma'am. And here's a couple of statements from the disgusting cesspool of social media that is Twitter. Alex the Big D Battleandabad Battlagalia over here says, where do I come up with this stuff. As mentioned, I ain't covering FF7 Remake, yet the stutters that happen immediately as soon as you get the game rendered graphics is unacceptable. Anyone testing and playing this game on PC before the release should realize that your cinematic game should not do that. John Plower like a linebacker lineman over here says he captured gameplay on an RTX 3090 and a 10900K, that's an i9 processor, at just 1080p, which is not even tickling or tapping the horsepower of that rig, and says it's a pure mess. And to me, I think the biggest disappointment here is that it being ported over to PC would mean that streamers and YouTubers are able to screen capture off a single PC rig to create content, and now they can't because it's a less beautiful presentation or gameplay experience than you're getting on a PlayStation 5. So if you are a content creator out there watching, what I would recommend, my humble and semi-professional opinion, would be for you to use a capture card from your PlayStation 5 into your PC, into OBS, screen capture that way, because if you're just trying to run this on a PC, as we've seen from these tweeters over here, even with a high-end rig, the performance is a little bit gross, as is the asking price for this product. That is going to do it, Stallions. If you enjoyed this video, liking it will help it to get seen by more gamers. This information will reach and assist them as well. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry, as well as tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, and honest gaming peripheral reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, chairs, mics, etc. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.